Never jump into a pile of leaves with a wet sucker.
Back off, Buster. My hands are dangerous. Hi, hee, hi, hi.
Let's get ready to rumble!
And now, the USCFL Network, in association with YouTube, presents the USCFL Postgame Show. Here's once again is Robbie Graham.
Greetings, cartoon and football fans. This is Robbie Graham of the USCFL Network, bringing you the action and highlights of a thrilling Week 4 and the final week of Round 1 of the USCFL's 2025 season as we continue to celebrate our 45th year and 20th year online. If you're joining us for the first time, may we extend to you a cordial welcome, and we hope you'll enjoy everything this channel has to offer. We also invite you to take a moment to subscribe to this channel and join our team. Now in these tough times, it's hard to try to be at ease and to relax. Please, during the season, take a break for about 1 hour each week and enjoy one of our videos. Have the kids watch along with you. There is nothing in our videos parents would find offensive, for we strive to be one of YouTube's least offensive channels by providing a different spin about your favorite cartoon characters from the past and present that doesn't reflect upon their true legacies. If your favorite character or characters aren't mentioned in our videos, please leave a comment and we will answer your questions. Also be sure to ring the bell to alert you of when we put up any new videos. The USCFL is on Patreon, and you can help support us for as low as $3 US a month to as much as $5 US a month, which averages out to 10 to 17 cents a day. In time, we can offer merchandise and other perks to help show your love for America's oldest fantasy football league. Round 1 ended this week with 2 very thrilling games, in which both games scored a combined average of 96 points a game. And in 1 minute, we will talk about and present the highlights of a thrilling Game 7 between the Warner Brothers All-Stars and the comic strip All-Stars from Houston.
Houston means that I'm one day closer to you. Oh, honey, Houston. Houston means the last day of the tour and we're through. Well, honey, you and God in heaven above know I love what I do. For a living I do. Oh, but Houston means that I'm one day closer to you. Yeah, singing at the world's biggest rodeo show was a great time for me and the guys. Oh, but when I'm away from you, honey, time always never flies.
Welcome back. Regardless of the outcome of the final 2 games of round 1, it would determine who plays who and where for round 2. The Warner Brothers All-Stars were predicted that they would win the title this year, while the comic strip All-Stars would finish in 7th place. In Houston, the comic strip All-Stars had something to prove by trying to defeat the Looney Tunes on their home turf. But it was Warner Brothers who got on the board first as Bugs Bunny threw a 7-yard touchdown pass to Hampton J. Pig from Tiny Toon Adventures to take a 7-0 lead with less than 2 minutes gone in the game. About 2 minutes later, Charlie Brown answered right back as he threw a 47-yard touchdown pass to backup receiver B.D. from the comic strip Doonesbury to tie the game at 7. About 2.5 minutes later, Sally Brown scored from 78 yards out as the comic strip All-Stars went up 14-7. More than 3 minutes later, Charlie Brown threw his second touchdown pass to castmate Linus Van Pelt from 12 yards out as the comic strips went up 21-7. Nearly 5 minutes later, Bugs Bunny connected with Hampton J. Pig again from 17 yards out to trail 21-14 at the end of the first quarter. During the second quarter, Wile E. Coyote put up a pair of field goals and Blondie Bumstead put up a field goal of her own as the comic strips led 24-20. With more than a minute left, Sally Brown scored her second touchdown run from 9 yards out to lead 31-20 at halftime. In the third quarter, Wile E. Coyote put up 2 more field goals to trail 31-26. And in the fourth quarter, Sally Brown scored 2 more touchdown runs from 3 and 7 yards out, respectively, to go up 45-20 with 12:28 left to play. About 8 minutes later, Charlie Brown threw his third touchdown pass to backup receiver, a long-forgotten comic strip character, Brenda Starr, to go up 52-26 with more than 4 minutes left to play. In a span of 1 minute and 17 seconds, Warner Brothers made a valiant comeback as first Bugs Bunny threw his third touchdown pass to backup tight end Minerva Mink from Animaniacs to trail 52-33. On a successful onside kick, Bugs Bunny threw his fourth touchdown pass to Plucky Duck from Tiny Toon Adventures to trail 52-40. Then with 52 seconds left, Bugs threw his fifth touchdown pass to Marvin the Martian to trail 52-47. But another onside kick failed for Warner Brothers as the comic strip All-Stars held on to win 52-47 and will have the number 1 seed for round 2. The comic strip All-Stars will remain at home for round 2, while Warner Brothers will remain on the road. As for the stats in this game, beginning with Warner Brothers, Bugs Bunny finished 40 of 55 for 441 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 1 interception. He also rushed for 84 yards on 8 carries. Daffy Duck rushed for 122 yards on 30 carries. Marvin the Martian led the receivers as he caught 7 passes for 107 yards and 1 touchdown. Buster Bunny of Tiny Toon Adventures led the defense with 4 tackles and 6 assists. Wile E. Coyote finished with 21 points. For the comic strip All-Stars, Charlie Brown finished 25 of 35 for 383 yards and 3 touchdowns. Sally Brown, the player of the game, rushed for 272 yards on 34 carries and 4 touchdowns. Snoopy led the receivers as he caught 8 passes for 124 yards. The Wizard of Id led the defense with 9 tackles and 7 assists. Blondie Bumstead finished with 10 points. And here is the highlights of this thrilling game, courtesy of EA Sports.
Seems like yesterday, but it was long ago. Jane, it was lovely, she was the queen of my night. There in the darkness with the radio playing low end, and the secrets that we shared, the mountains that we moved, caught like a wildfire out of control, till there was nothing left to burn and nothing left to prove. And I remember what she said to me, how she swore that it never would end. I remember how she held me oh so tight. Wish I didn't know now what I didn't know then. Against the wind, we were running against the wind. We were young and strong, we were running against the wind. And the years rolled slowly past, and I found myself alone, surrounded by strangers I thought were my friends. Found myself further and further from my home, and I guess I lost my way. There were oh so many roads. I was living to run and running to live, never worried about paying or even how much I owe. commitments. What to leave in, what to leave out. Against the wind, I'm still running against the wind. I'm older now, but still running against the wind. Well, I'm older now and still running against the wind. Against the wind. Against the wind. I'm still running against the wind. I'm still running against the wind. Against the wind. I'm still running against the wind. I'm still running against the wind. Against the wind. Still running against the wind. Running against the wind. Running against the wind. Against the wind. See the young man run against the wind. Watch a young man run against the wind. Watch a young man running against the wind. I'll be running against the wind. Against the wind. Let the cowboys ride against the wind. Against the wind. Let the cowboys ride against the wind. I'll be riding against the wind. Against the wind. Against the wind. Against the wind. Riding against the wind. Against the wind. Against the wind. Ride, 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 ride.
Sorry, I made a mistake. Wile E. Coyote scored 17 points in the game instead of 21. I apologize for the error in scoring. In 1 minute, we will talk about and present the highlights of an equally exciting Game 8 between the Marvel Comics All-Stars and the Hanna-Barbera All-Stars in their first ever meeting from Atlanta.
Oh, the night is my world. City lights, painted girl. In the day, nothing matters. It's the night, time that matters. In the night, no control. Through the wall, something breaking. Wearing white as you're walking down the street of my soul. You take my self-control.
Welcome back. The Marvel Comics All-Stars have been in the USCFL since 2012, but they've never faced Hanna-Barbera in a game until now. And what a game it was. For the first time ever, She-Hulk and Daphne Blake and their respective team and castmates squared off in Atlanta to a very thrilling game. But in the first quarter, the only score was a 1-yard touchdown run by Wolverine for Marvel Comics to go up 7-0. Early in the second quarter, Wally Gator intercepted a She-Hulk pass and ran it back coast to coast from 102 yards out to tie the game at 7. Hanna-Barbera took the lead as Daphne Blake threw a 6-yard touchdown pass to backup receiver Dynamut to go up 14-7. Just 13 seconds later, Wolverine scored his second touchdown run from 79 yards out to tie the game again at 14 with 10 minutes left in the half. Hanna-Barbera retook the lead again as Daphne threw her second touchdown pass to her castmate Scooby-Doo to go up 21-14 with under 7 minutes left in the half. More than 2 minutes later, Spider-Woman put up a field goal to trail 21-17. With 46 seconds left in the half, Vanity Smurf kicked a field goal of his own to go up 24-17. Spider-Woman closed out the half with her second field goal to trail 24-20 at halftime. In the third quarter, Spider-Woman put up her third field goal to trail 24-23. Then Marvel Comics retook the lead as She-Hulk threw a 2-yard touchdown pass to backup receiver Miss Marvel, and with a successful 2-point conversion, went up 31-24. With over 1 minute left, Wilma Flintstone ran in from 2 yards out to tie the game at 31 at the end of the quarter. In a very exciting fourth quarter, Wolverine scored his third touchdown run from 1 yard out to retake the lead again 38-31 with 9.5 minutes left. A little more than a minute later, Daphne ran in herself from 4 yards out to tie the game again at 38 with more than 8 minutes left. With 2:34 left, Wolverine scored his fourth touchdown run from 9 yards out to go up again 45-38. With 1:13 left, Daphne threw her third touchdown pass to her castmate Shaggy Rogers from 15 yards out to tie the game for the fifth time at 45-45. With 2 seconds left, Marvel Comics could have kicked a 34-yard field goal to win, but Hanna-Barbera iced the kicker, and when Spider-Woman kicked, Hanna-Barbera blocked it to send the game into overtime. In overtime, Spider-Woman redeemed herself by kicking her fourth field goal from 37 yards out to win the thriller 48-45. Marvel Comics will go home for round 2, while Hanna-Barbera will go on the road. Since the Disney Bowl format was created in 2018, there has never been 3 teams who lost and scored more than 40 points. Hanna-Barbera, Warner Brothers, and Filmation all accomplished this. As for the stats in this game, beginning with Marvel Comics, She-Hulk finished 36 of 53 for 468 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Wolverine rushed for 253 yards on 37 carries. The Amazing Spider-Man led the receivers as he caught 10 passes for 145 yards. Jean Grey of the X-Men led the defense with 6 tackles and 9 assists. Spider-Woman finished with 16 points. For Hanna-Barbera, Daphne Blake finished 33 of 50 for 441 yards and 3 touchdowns. She also rushed for 34 yards on 4 carries and 1 touchdown. Wilma Flintstone rushed for 83 yards on 23 carries and 1 touchdown. Shaggy Rogers led the receivers as he caught 10 passes for 129 yards and 1 touchdown. Huckleberry Hound led the defense with 9 tackles and 2 assists. Wally Gator was the player of the game, although he only had 1 tackle, 2 assists, 1 interception, and the pick 6 he had in the second quarter. The 102-yard pick 6 was among the longest interception touchdown runs in league history. Vanity Smurf finished with 9 points. And here's the highlights of this overtime thriller, courtesy of EA Sports. In 1 minute, we will continue our series of player profiles with a beloved franchise that has always been on top of the music world, as we will profile Josie and the Pussycats.
Josie and the Pussycats, long tails and ears for hats, guitars and Marshall stacks, hot, sweet, super cool, don't you know these kitties rule? Hurry, hurry, we've been going over the master plan, driving in a custom painted van, practicing for hours, don't you know that soon no matter where you go, we'll be on your radio. Josie and the Pussycats, hot licks will give you that. Stone foxes, that's a fact. Josie and the Pussycats.
Welcome back. Like most characters in this league, the characters we're profiling this week started out in comic books in Archie Comics as filler stories. Then they got their own comic book series. In 1970, got their own TV series on Saturday mornings and had 2 series and a live-action movie in 2001. This week we are profiling Josie and the Pussycats, a beloved franchise that is still popular today as they were back in the 1970s. Please keep in mind that we are only profiling the original series and not their sequel, Josie and the Pussycats in Outer Space.
Josie and the Pussycats, formatted as Josie and the Pussycats in the opening titles, is an American animated television series based upon the Archie Comics comic book series of the same name created by Dan DeCarlo. Produced for Saturday morning television by Hanna-Barbera Productions. 16 episodes of Josie and the Pussycats aired on CBS during the 1970 to 71 television season and were rerun during the 1971 to 72 season. In 1972, the show was reconceptualized Josie and the Pussycats in Outer Space, 16 episodes of which aired on CBS during the 1972 to 73 season and were rerun the following season until January 1974. Reruns of the original series alternated between CBS, ABC, and NBC from 1974 through 1976. This brought its national Saturday morning TV run on 3 networks to 6 years. Josie and the Pussycats featured a teenage all-girl pop band that toured the world with their entourage, getting mixed up in strange adventures, spy capers, and mysteries. The group consisted of level-headed lead singer, songwriter, and guitarist Josie, intelligent tambourinist Valerie, and airheaded blonde drummer Melody. Other characters included their cowardly manager Alexander Cabot III, his conniving sister Alexandra, her cat Sebastian, and muscular Rhodey Allen. The show, more similar to Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?, than the original Josie comic book, is remembered for its music, the girls' leopard print leotards, replete with long tails and ears for hats, as the theme song states, and for featuring Valerie as the first regularly appearing female black character in a Saturday morning cartoon show. Each episode featured a Josie and the Pussycats song played over a chase scene, which, similarly to the Monkees, featured the group running after and away from a selection of haplessly villainous characters. Josie and the Pussycats debuted on the CBS Saturday morning lineup on September 12th, 1970, with the episode The Nemo's a No-No Affair. The animated version of Josie was an amalgam of plot devices, villain types, settings, moods, and tones from other Hanna-Barbera shows such as Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?, Johnny Quest, Space Ghost, and Shazam. Like Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?, Josie and the Pussycats was originally broadcast with a laugh track. Later home video and DVD releases omit the laugh track. Cartoon Network and Boomerang, however, have aired the show in its original broadcast format with the laugh track intact. Each episode found the Pussycats and crew en route to perform a gig or record a song in some exotic location where, somehow, often due to something Alexandra did, they became mixed up in an adventure. The antagonist was always a diabolical mad scientist, spy, or criminal who wanted to take over the world using some high-tech device. The Pussycats usually found themselves in possession of the plans for an invention, an item of interest to the villains, a secret spy message, etc., and the villains chased them to retrieve it. Eventually, the Pussycats would ruin the villains' plans, resulting in a final chase sequence set to a Pussycat song. With the villain captured, the Pussycats would return to their gig or recording session, and the final gag was always one of Alexandra's failed attempts to interfere with the Pussycats' performance or steal Alan away from Josie. During the 1968-69 television season, the first Archie-based Saturday morning cartoon, The Archie Show, was a huge success, not only in the ratings on CBS, but also on the Billboard charts. The Archie's song, Sugar, Sugar, hit the #1 spot on the Billboard charts in September 1969, becoming the #1 song of the year. Animation studio Hanna-Barbera Productions wanted to duplicate the success their competitors' Filmation were having with The Archie Show. After a failed attempt at developing a teenage music band show of their own called Mysteries 5, which eventually became Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?, they decided to go to the source and contacted Archie Comics about possibly adapting one of their remaining properties into a show similar to The Archie Show. Archie and Hanna-Barbera collaborated to adapt Archie's Josie comic book into a music-based property about a teenage music band, adding new characters, Alan M. and Valerie, while dismissing others. In preparation for the upcoming cartoon series, Hanna-Barbera began working on putting together a real-life Josie and the Pussycats girl group, who would provide the singing voices of the girls in the cartoons and also record an album of songs to be used both as radio singles and in the TV series. The Josie and the Pussycats recordings were produced by La La Productions, run by Danny Jansen and Bobby Young, a pseudonym for Bob Engemann of the Letterman vocal group. They held a talent search to find 3 girls who would match the 3 girls in the comic book in both looks and singing ability. Early plans, which did not come to fruition, called for a live-action Pussycats segment at the end of each episode. After interviewing over 500 finalists, settled upon casting Kathleen Doherty, Kathy Dower, as Josie Sherry Moore, later known as Cheryl Ladd, as Melody, and Patrice Holloway as Valerie. According to Danny Jansen's recollections in his liner notes for the Rhino compilation CD, when he submitted his suggested studio singers, he was unaware that all 3 characters in the Archie comic book were Caucasian. But Hanna-Barbera's art and animation elements were already in production, so there was concern about going back and changing the character, not because of race, but because of time, budget, and most of all, approvals. Jansen said that he could not return to Patrice Holloway and take her out of the trio, so his only alternative was to leave the project. They were very nice about it, Jansen said, but they agreed that he could happily return for another project in the future. However, in the meantime, Hanna-Barbera, which would not have made such a change in the midst of production without consulting with Archie Comics, who controlled the characters, CBS, who approved the series, and Kellogg's, the sponsor, did indeed replace Pepper with a new character named Valerie. Pepper disappeared from the comic book, and African-American Valerie took her place in December 1969. The timeline of her debut in the comic book bears out the production of the series and the development of the merchandise design guides, which include Valerie. Hanna-Barbera initiated this in order to replace Pepper with African-American Valerie to keep Patrice Holloway. They then hired African-American Barbara Perriott as Valerie's speaking voice. Danny Jansen wasn't aware that this had happened until weeks later when he was brought back as the music producer and made the records. The Valerie character was the first black female character on a regular Saturday morning cartoon series. The Hardy Boys drummer Pete Jones had been the first black male to appear on Saturday mornings a year earlier, but Pete's voice was not spoken by an African American. Hanna-Barbera did cast Valerie's speaking voice accordingly, and Danny Jansen cast her singing voice, setting the historic precedent. Of the songs that were broadcast, Patrice Holloway sang lead on the series theme song, You've Come a Long Way, Baby, Voodoo, It's All Right With Me, the hand-clapping song, Stop, Look and Listen, Clock on the Wall, and Every Beat of My Heart. Holloway was the primary lead vocalist on Roadrunner, which also features verses sung by Kathleen Doherty and Cheryl Ladd. Ladd sang lead on Inside, Outside, Upside Down, Dreammaker, I Wanna Make You Happy, The Time to Love, I Love You Too Much, Lie, 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 and Dreaming. According to songwriter/vocal arranger Sue Sheridan, known as Sue Stewart at the time, Doherty felt she was stronger on harmony than lead and ceded her spotlight to Ladd. Essentially then, Josie was the group leader, but Valerie and Melody provided the trio with its singing voices. The show's theme song, titled Josie and the Pussycats, was written by Hoyt Curtin, William Hanna, under the pseudonym Denby Williams, and Joseph Barbera, under the pseudonym Joseph Rowland. The theme song was based on melodies from an incidental tune that had been played on various Hanna-Barbera cartoons since the Jetsons. A soundtrack album of songs from the series was released in 1970 on Capitol/EMI Records. A cover of Josie and the Pussycats performed by Juliana Hatfield and Tanya Donnelly is included on the 1995 tribute album Saturday Morning, Cartoon's Greatest Hits, produced by Ralph Saul on MCA Records. The theme song was also covered on the soundtrack of the 2001 live-action film based on the comic book series. As for their time in the USCFL, Josie and the Pussycats joined the league in 1984 and were one of the 9 teams that played for the league title in their inaugural season. But they are the only team in the history of the league to not score a touchdown in the title game. They had their own team until 1986 before joining the Hanna-Barbera team in 1987 and do have 2 titles to their credit. All the players except for Valerie are either starters or reserves, while Valerie's intellectual prowess gave her the job of defensive coordinator. The following is an existing video and one of our most popular videos on this channel showing the Pussycats from their 1970 series. Whether they are singing, solving crimes, and playing in the USCFL, these kitties do rule in more ways than one.
Josie and the Pussycats, long tails and ears for hats, guitars and sharks and flaps, neat, sweet, a groovy song, you're invited, come along. Hurry, hurry, see all the
In 1 minute, we will reveal the answer to last week's trivia question, this week's question, a preview of the first 2 games of round 2, and the full schedule for round 2. Welcome back. Now for the answer to last week's trivia question. We asked true or false. In the Sailor Moon universe, there is a Sailor Earth. If you guessed false, you are correct. Sailor Moon is the closest the franchise has to a Sailor Earth. And while the other 8 planets have a Sailor Scout named for them, only the Earth is the only planet to officially not have a Sailor Scout named for it. Now for this week's question. This week's question is a Hall of Fame question. Remember, Hall of Fame questions are not multiple choice. Here is the question. The category is common bonds. When we ask this type of question, there are 2 or more characters that have had the same or similar kind of experience. In the Scooby-Doo series, something happened to Daphne, Shaggy, and Scooby once, and only once, in their long history. Shaggy and Scooby experienced the same thing, while Daphne had 2 one-time occurrences. What were these occurrences? We will have the answers for you next week. But before we go, here is the full schedule for round 2 of the USCFL's 2025 season. And now we'll wrap things up for Week 4 and the final week of Round 1 of the USCFL's 2025 season, our 45th year and 20th year online. Next week, Round 2 begins, as we will talk about and present the highlights of Game 9 between the Classic Cartoon All-Stars and the Comic Strip All-Stars from Houston, and the highlights of Game 10 between the Modern Cartoon All-Stars and the Marvel Comics All-Stars from Chicago, along with another player profile in the USCFL. And until next Sunday, this is Robbie Graham of the USCFL Network wishing you peace. And now more than ever, take care and stay safe.
All the characters and franchises mentioned throughout this webcast remains the copyright of their respective owners. They were used for the purpose of entertainment and or education, and therefore no breach of any copyright laws were intended. This webcast is protected under copyright and must not be rewritten, re-recorded, rebroadcast or re-uploaded in whole or in part without the prior written consents of First and 10 Productions, the American Association of Animation and the United States Cartoon Football League. Copyright 2024.